Welcome back to a stream with me on the commentary. I am your host, Alexander Rhodes. We are racing this morning with Liga Virtual F1, and we are at Monaco for round 5 of 22. This race will see the drivers tackle 39 laps of this incredibly difficult circuit. Those of you who watch Formula One or any other type of formula that go around Monaco, you will know that this circuit is not very forgiving. There is no runoff, but lots of barriers. So, as a little recap of what's happened over the previous 4 rounds, we have once again the mighty Carlos Fenno up at the very top of the championship, with Danny right behind. It's looking very, very tight. We have some new challenges in there. We may show you a standings table shortly, but for now, we will stick with the images provided by the magnificent Charles as we get back to some very good stream quality with R Factor 2 for this Formula One race. Now, for those of you who are joining for the first time, who don't know who Liga Virtual F1 are, well, they do R Factor 2 races, predominantly Formula 1, but I have commentated on other races in touring cars for them. And to be honest, the racing with them is fantastic. They have a good community of drivers. So if you do want to get involved, do search them out. They are a great community, and I can see that the lineup has a lot of new names that I did not see last time I was commentating for them, so I'm going to be very interested to see how everybody gets on today. But for now, we are looking over the Marina Harbour, a track that doesn't look particularly sunny, and if the cars are anything to go by that are circulating right now, it looks a mighty bit damp. What will this cause? Who knows? However, we have qualifying starting in just a couple of minutes. That starts at 11 on the dot. From there, we will go into a short little break, and then we have the main event, 39 laps, shorting right afterwards, where we might have a little break after that, and then we'll hear from some of the drivers following the antics on track. Now, in terms of where the drivers are at, I haven't heard from many of them this morning. However, one of them did say that they're not looking forward to it. They're expecting a bit of a disaster. So we hope that's not the case. But either way, there will be entertainment in store, and it will be a spectacle and a half. So with that said, we have 2 minutes until qualifying. Make that 1 minute as the clock just clicks on to 59 minutes past 10. As I said, qualifying does start at 11. There's a few drivers circulating at the moment. I'm wondering whether we're going to get a timing shot so we can see what sort of lap times people do, and that'll give us an indication of just how wet it is. Bearing in mind that the cars we're using are the 2021 cars, so not the current regulations, previous regulations. So we will see some very, very quick times around here. Everybody knows how the car's going to handle. There's not going to be any detrimental aero effects. But the current lap record around this circuit is 1 minute 14.260, which was set by Max Verstappen in 2018. So same regulations as these cars, just these cars are a little bit more held back. If anybody does get close to that, however, I will be very impressed, because Max Verstappen did set a blinder in 2018. However, for those of you who are with us, thank you very much for joining us. And we are a few seconds away now from heading into our qualifying session at Monaco. The track does not seem to be any drier. I am seeing a dark line around by the swimming pool. So maybe it is starting to dry, but there is still forecast of rain. Now, how much rain we get will, of course, make a big difference. Those at the back of the field might choose to play it a bit more cautious, just in the hope of making up places due to other people not managing to navigate on the slippery surface. And then a few other people might choose to play with tyre strategy. Who knows? This is Formula One. This is what it is all about. And here we go straight into qualifying, where we have a yellow immediately in Sector 2. And there goes the yellow and back again. So Sector 2 should be around the Mirabel Hawk, Grand Hotel Hairpin Casino, this sort of area. So a flashing yellow there and off may indicate a car struggling in the weather, as we do see a car around the swimming pool there bouncing off the walls as he came through to back and into Chiron. I'm just wondering if we're going to get any more shots or any sort of timing table for where people are at. The qualifying session has been going on for over a minute now, so I would expect people to have completed their outlaps. And then we should be able to see who's on quick laps, who's on standard laps, who's going worse than they were earlier. As the session changes, so we may have been stuck in practice there, as we had a very different weather change. And I believe we're still not into qualifying. I believe the timer still says P, which means practice. So it's not skipped over just yet. So we may be looking for a change. But no, we're in qualifying. I'm told this is qualifying, but R Factor 2, of course, calls it practice for the moment. And we have drivers on circuit. And look at the weather. That is very, very wet indeed. And we have drivers just coming around into Casino right now, heading down to Mirabel. One of everybody's favourite corners before you get to everybody's least favourite corner around the Grand Hotel Hairpin. We'll go down towards Postrace before heading into a wonderful tunnel, followed by a horrible, horrible braking point down into the new chicane. That braking point will catch people out in this weather. It is downhill. It is very, very bumpy. And if you're not changing the brake bias, then you may lock the rear wheels, which is not ideal. Which, if you remember a few years ago in the actual Formula 1 races, did cost someone to hit the barrier between the old circuit and the new chicane. I say old circuit, it's an actual road. This is, of course, a street race around the centre of Monaco, which is usually attended by royalty and VIPs alike. However, this being R Factor 2, all of our VIPs are you guys at home. So thank you very much for joining. And we are now seeing that the first few drivers will start setting some sector times. We had a brief yellow in Sector 1 there. I am not sure what that might be. That might be someone tapping the wall, spinning the car. As you can see, it is. It's not ideal for accelerating. Not ideal for hitting the curbs. However, Benjamin Reinhardt is not scared of the curbs. Reinhardt now understeering a little bit through Postrace there. Now it's through the tunnel, which of course will remain dry. There is no rain inside the tunnels, so that may cause the wets to get quite hot. Reinhardt taking a lot of curb over the new chicane there. That is a lot of curb to be smacking the car with in damp conditions, unsettling the car. And as it goes through a swimming pool now, of course Charles Leclerc did damage the car there, and he's around. Reinhardt has spun the car, keeps it going though. Now heading through Raskas, still pointing in one direction. This car amazingly still managing to turn after wiping out the front end. And Reinhardt does come across the line with a 1:16.025, so almost 2 seconds behind what Max Verstappen was able to set in dry weather in 2018. So that is an indication of just how difficult these conditions are to manage, as we're now watching on board with Daniel 1 and then Pablos. Pablos is racing around in the Aston Martin colours. And target score 1.13686, which is very, very fast. And wow, Rodriguez manages that. So that is absolutely fantastic from Rodriguez. Again, smashing Max Verstappen's best ever lap record on a wet track. So whatever Rodriguez has done there, that is absolutely amazing. Now, Pablos is green in sector 1. Again, that means he's improving on his own time. Purple would be better than anybody else. That target time, 1:13.686 by Rodriguez. That is absolutely insane. As we're just watching Mangel C12. Just going a little bit wide around Portier there. Again, the wider line might offer more grip, allow you to get the power down earlier and come out the corner faster. And we may see a lot of drivers trying to stay off the traditional racing line, as there was a car sideways there. An Alfa Romeo, by the look of it, just pointing the wrong way after the new chicane. As Mangel again smashing these curbs on a very wet track and then having to take evasive action around the swimming pool before heading into Las Casas. I'm not sure whether this time will be allowed, because I'm sure that both front wheels were on the wrong side of the curve marker. He does indeed set time. He's a good 3 seconds off the pace. Now, Carlos Fenno, championship leader, purple in sector 1. Remember that we've got a 1:13.686 out there. That is no easy time to beat. As Carlos Fenno very sideways on the way into the new chicane there. Not sure whether all the wheels were within track limits. He's using all of the circuit, being very brave considering the conditions. Just car there on the left hand side making way around Raskas. Now lots of understeer. Carlos in the Ferrari, not scared to give it the beans. Green in sector 2. What is sector 3? Crosses the line. 1:13.707. So that is 104 thousandths off the pole time. This is going to be a very tight race indeed. Now, for those who aren't aware, Rodriguez is currently 12th in the championship, retired in the last round, so we'll be hoping to make up some points today. Aceite now, again, green in sector 1, green in sector 2, no purple, so this might not challenge pole unless he's got an amazing sector 3, very sideways on the exit. May have just tapped the wall there, coming down through the pitch straight, but Aceite puts it in 5th place with a 1:14.971. So 5th place does seem to be where the largest split comes from. Again, the times at the top, Rodriguez 1:13.686, Fenno on a, wow, Aceite is very sideways all the time in that car. He's in the Haas, so it's to be expected. The Haas back then wasn't the greatest car. But again, these conditions very, very hard. So Pablos is a little further back than Fenno. 6 tenths, and then you have 9.5 tenths to Danny 01. And Aceite 1.3 seconds almost. As we're watching Danny 01 getting held up, it looks like. And he was purple in sector 1, green in sector 2. This could be a good time if he's not being impeded too much. As he comes over the line, 1:13.929. That does push him up into 3rd place, a lot closer to the front 2 now. And then you have, of course, another shot to get it right. We have a yellow in sector 1 briefly. Again, these conditions catching drivers out. And again, as you can see, Danny 01 just coming over the bump out of Casino, and it sends the car all over the place. Now, Balint in the other Ferrari. Yellow in sector 1, green in sector 2. So unless it's an amazing sector 3, I doubt it's going to be for pole. In fact, it can be for pole. He's well beyond that point. But a 1:21.190 doesn't quite see him last. And it's a very long way off the pace indeed. This could be an issue in the race when a lot of the drivers at the back of the field are going quite slowly and the leaders come up behind them in wet conditions. Oh, and Balit gets it very, very wrong there and smashes into the wall after Casino. Again, there is a bump on the exit of that corner, which is usually where you see the real Formula 1 drivers jotting out into the middle of the road. That bump will unsettle the cars. So if you're not happy that the car's going to stick, you really want to be moving out of the way, as we see Maimo again hitting another barrier there. You know, these conditions are torrential, so it's going to be very, very hard to keep the car straight. As Rosette HD does go around, just highlighting my point of how tricky these conditions are. Yeah, it's just so difficult to keep the cars pointing straight when you have nearly 1,000 brake horsepower on a 600 kilogram chassis. And it's a track that's so slow that the aero means very little indeed. And you're using gears that are designed to deliver the most power through that rear axle. As we're now on board with Azam Gozichny. I think I pronounced that right. If not, you'll have to tell me how to pronounce that correctly. Again, I will apologise for my pronunciation. I am not the best when it comes to everybody's names, but I do try to improve where I can, and if anyone can tell me how it should be pronounced, I would very much appreciate that. So, Adam just coming around 1:17.865 on the last lap, improving in Sector 1 and Sector 3. Time to find in the middle sector, so that's where he's going at the moment. Heading over to Casino, trying to keep everything straight. Trying to keep it nice and neat. As we now just around into the Grand Hotel hairpin. Very neat indeed, keeping it very tidy, which of course is what you need for a very quick lap time. Smashing it sideways around the corners and into walls will not help. And he just does give the exit of Portier a little tap there. Very close to the wall at the exit of tunnel. Nice and tidy into the new chicane. Now as he comes up towards to back, what's going to be the story as he comes around to back and into Swimpel. And then we're on board again with Reinhardt, who we saw very early in the qualifying session, doing a wonderful job trying to set a good benchmark. We've got it all very wrong towards the end, but he's purple in Sector 1, which of course is an indication that he's gone faster than anybody else has in Sector 1. Being very brave over the curbs of new chicane, and then down into to back before slamming the wall before coming into swimming pool. That could cost him time, but he's still purple in Sector 2. If he can hold it together through Raskas and onto the pit straight, he might just have a chance of snatching pole position as he comes over towards the line. 1:13.313, so not quite pole despite an amazing lap. Fenno still holds on with a 1:13.125, which we did not see. Don't forget that the previous was a 1:13.3 that we saw. However, Fenno, as we know, he is a mighty driver. Currently championship leader with Daniel 1 right on his heels. And then we have Jeff in third place. We've not seen much of Jeff, but he's down in 12th on the grid at the moment. Might be struggling in these conditions a little bit. It is a very, very tricky track right now. Yellows all the time from people slamming the wall or spinning the car. It's very easy to do as Fenno comes through the first corner and up the hill through towards Massenet, which of course does catch drivers out as well. You usually see people on the outside about here slamming into the wall, but Fenno takes the inside wall and just comes around down towards Mirabeau. He has a driver in front which might not be helping him, holding him up indeed as the two cars collide, which that is going to take away any chance Fenno had of a pole on that lap, as indicated by the yellow, and Fenno returns to the pits. Now we're on board with Pablos, who we saw earlier as well in the Aston Martin. Pablos will be hoping to get it a little bit further up the grid if he can, with Reinhardt in front, Fenno in front. We know Pablos can challenge. We've seen it before from Pablos. He's green in Sector 1. So if Pablos can get up there, we know he'll be happy with it. However, it's whether or not he can find where to be brave and where to be safe. And you do need to go around the track with some level of caution in these conditions. We are seeing a number of drivers now smashing that lap record set by Max Verstappen in 2018. Nobody too scared to put the power down as Pablos just uses that wall like everybody else is doing at the moment. that might cause issues over 39 laps. If these drivers are smashing into these walls time and time again, there will be damage to the cars. And that might cause a few upsets after 30 or so laps doing the same thing. Now, Mangel comes out again. Marete out on circuit as well. Currently in 6th place. Marete is capable of more. But yellow in the first sector, so I doubt it's going to be this lap, but maybe the next lap. Green in sector 2, so he might have found a place to push. If he can bring it together, he will find himself in the 13 seconds, but he pulls the car over after smashing the wall at Santa Vort. And he will go for another go if he has time. 1 minute on the clock, so very unlikely of Reinhardt doing all he can at the moment. Oh, but very sideways on entry to Casino and then spins it around over that bump that I was telling you about earlier. Fenno on another lap. Purple again in Sector 1 through Memorable. Grand Hotel hairpin and then down in towards Portier. This right-handed just before the tunnel, coming through towards the sector time at the end of the tunnel. So we're looking for a purple. If we're on for a purple, there might be a chance for 112. Very late on the brakes there. I'm not sure if that cost him or if that is going to improve. Again, touching the wall, but no, he stopped the car. If that was a purple in sector 2, that could have been on for a 112. However, who do we still have on track? We have Rodriguez. Rodriguez again, we know Rodriguez is quick. Purple in sector 2, which is a faster sector time than anybody else. It does not mean the lap up until that point is better than anybody else, just that sector. So it all depends on how fast sector 1 has been as to whether or not he can take pole position. Of course, sector 3 matters as well. He comes over the line, 113.753, not quite good enough for improvement, and he slams it into the wall in frustration, which we can't blame him for in these conditions. So that is the end of the qualifying session. Only those who are currently on a lap can improve in time if they manage to put the lap together. Asiite now currently down in 8th place. We know that Asiite has pace. We've seen it before. He's green in sector 1. It's not a pole setting lap. However, Pablos is purple in sector 1, purple in sector 2. Can Pablos hold it together for sector 3? Can we see a 112 on the board? Maybe even better. Look at this lap, a 111.939. Pablos, that is insane. That is over a second faster than second place. 1.185 is the deficit between first and second. Just showing how good that lap was from Pablos. Again, such an amazing lap to go so much faster than everybody else in such tricky conditions after being so far behind for so long. We had seen purple sectors popping up now and then from Pablos, but to put all 3 sectors together to deliver such a lap is amazing. So very well done, Pablos. As I believe everybody's across the line now. So there is your order confirmed for the Q3 session. Of course, Pablos now has to do it again. That's the disappointing thing. You've set a 111.939 and then your time's delayed, so you have to do it again. But we believe you can. Carlos Fenno, however, now knows that the bar is a little bit higher, so he will be trying to do a little bit more to try and make sure the deficit isn't quite so large this time around. Reinhardt, again, another challenger, knows what needs to be done, as does Danny 01. Rodriguez, Asiite, Marete and Adri will be hoping they can get a little bit closer. Cabeza Speed down in 9th as well. He had some pace in the last championship I commentated on, but he'll also be hoping to be a little further up, as will Mangel C2012, Jose PhD, Maimo Jeff again. Jeff was a championship contender heading into this round, which we've not seen from at the moment. Currently down in 13th place with Adam Gazichny behind with Voldinger as well, who we've not seen from so far. Outside of that top three, and then you have Tafili, Balint, and MG 1998 Tiffy. Again, I will struggle with a lot of people's names. It's always difficult with gamer tags rather than real names as well, because you don't know how everybody intends their names to be said. But as the championship progresses and more people let me know how it should be done, we of course will be better prepared to pronounce things later on. So thank you all for being with us for the final qualifying session of the day. Again, we have a 39 lap race coming up, and if you are able to see the chat and type in the box, feel free to give us messages. Let us know who you are rooting for, ask questions, and generally engage with us, and we will respond throughout the course of this broadcast, because we are live. We are willing to engage with you, as we do appreciate the fan base watching all of these guys send these cars around Monaco in ridiculous times considering the weather. So we should have the first outlaps done and some times being set. Cabez's speed currently purple in sector 1. Don't forget that because nobody's set a time at the moment, those first over the sector lines will be purple, with a chance of that changing as other drivers come through them later on. Now, Cabeza Speed currently making his way down towards Tabac and then Swimming Pool. The car's looking a little bit uneasy. It's sideways here and there. You know, it's not simple to keep these cars in a straight line no matter what the score. But we have a time on the board, 1:12.522. So the circuit conditions may have improved, or Cabeza Speed is just showing us the pace that I mentioned a tiny bit earlier. As we're now watching Reinhardt on his outlap, and then Pablos is coming around with 2 green sectors, not purple. He's not going to beat Reinhardt for that 1:11.163 that sits on the board at the moment. That's 0.8 faster than we saw earlier. Pablos on a 1:11.831. Daniel won only 0.3 off the lead as well. So this is getting faster. The circuit is looking a little brighter, the track is getting drier, and people are pushing a little harder. Let us know in the comments what you believe the final lap time is going to be. Don't forget, this is maximum attack. Low fuel, as fast as possible, as few laps as possible. And we have a 1:10 on the board. Carlos Fenno not happy about being over a second behind in Q2. So trying to put a second over everybody else and just falling short by a couple of tenths with an amazing lap time of a 1:10.308, and then pushing for the last 2 tenths right now as he's fast in sector 1. 2.5 faster than his last lap, which, don't forget, is already pole. So to go faster after you've just slammed everybody by 8 tenths is absolutely amazing. It is also an indication that the track is getting drier. You can see tram lines as we're faster again in sector 2. This might be an indication that for any tyre changes that happen now, somebody might choose intermediate tyres, maybe even slicks. I doubt slicks, but Fenno coming across the line, this could be amazingly fast. Here we go, up to the line, 1 minute 9. A 1 minute 9.843 from your championship leader, meaning the deficit to second place is currently at 1 second flat. That is absolutely amazing. We're on board with Daniel 1, who is improving. Not purple, understandably, because that was an amazing lap. However, green in sector 1, green in sector 2. He's only in 4th place at the moment as well, so there is a chance to be up at the front row here if he can keep it pointed where he wants the car to go as he comes onto the pit lane now, over towards the start-finish straight. This is going to be a 1:11.170, remaining in 4th place, but by 7 thousandths of a second. That is insanely close from 3rd and 4th place right now. We're watching Mangel C12 improving again in sector 1 and sector 2. Lap times falling all of the time. So again, at 1 minute 9 might not be the fastest lap of the session, Again, people could choose to change, go for the inters, go for the slicks. What would you do? Let us know in the comments. We will respond to you as the race progresses. And we're coming over towards Casino now, going through a very tricky part of the track at the very top of the hill. And Mansell Tweed gets caught out by that curb again and just spins the car around. So we have time for another outlap, maybe 2 qualifying laps if you can make the tyres last that long. As we're watching Mangel C12 just coming out of the pits, up through Saint-Devote, and getting it wrong on the exit. Again, you've got to watch out for these painted lines because a lot of them are slippy. This is a normal street track with normal street rubber being laid out through the year. And then you get rain on that rubber, you get rain on those painted laps, which are not painted with race circuit paint. So they don't have the grippy stuff that you get at places like Paul Ricard. So these white lines will be an awful lot slippier than everywhere else you visit. And again, if you are caught out lighting up the rear tyres, it will send you around in a heartbeat, and there's not a lot you can do once you are there. So Mangel C12 just coming down towards the new chicane now. Again, this is a very tricky chicane as well. You're talking first gear, maybe 50 miles an hour, maximum of 70 if you're brave enough. You've really got to whack that curb though, and that's got a chance of ending your race hopes in the barrier. As we're seeing Mangel C12 just doing everything they can to avoid that, just coming around Rascasse. Again, Rascasse is one of those corners. It's been at the centre of drama for many, many years. Michael Schumacher spinning it there. Charles Leclerc spinning it there. Everybody spins it at Rascasse. So don't be expecting everybody to get around that cleanly after 39 laps, especially with conditions as they are. I'm just wondering if we have anybody on intermediate tyres at the moment. Carlos Feno's yellow in sector 1. He will have time for another lap. Is that a green sidewall? Carlos Feno could be on intermediate tyres here, people. They are not the blue extreme wet tyres on that car. Those are green intermediates. Feno slower at the moment, maybe struggling with grip, but he does have time for another lap, but chooses not to. He's coming into the pits for another set of tyres and struggling. So maybe too soon for the inters though. However, Rodriguez also on inters. How is Rodriguez going to find the lap? Struggling to get the car pointed in at the Casino and through Massenet there. I'm just watching the front end because he's got a lot of lock on that Formula 1 car of Aston Martin, and the car just not sticking to the road as hoped. Yellow in sector 1 by half a second, but it all depends on whether the grip comes around, because don't forget, if the inters stick, they will be so much faster than the full wets, but you have to be on the tram lines. As Rodriguez keeping it very neat and tidy through the new chicane there, coming into to back, and then of course you have the swimming pool after Chiron. That Chiron on the left there, and then swimming pool through the rights. Rascasse coming up now, kind of keeping pointed. He's very slow in sector 2, so I doubt this is going to be a pole setting time, but very brave for Feno and Rodriguez to give it a go on those intermediate tyres. Again, you never know whether it's time unless you're feeling the circuit is too dry for the wets, so then you try for the inters. And don't forget, tyre choice is king. Think back to 2008, I believe, with Jenson Button at Canada. The Montreal circuit was very heavy with rain, dried up for a little bit, rained again, and then dried up again. And Jenson Button, after being in the pits maybe 5-6 times, being at the back of the grid maybe 3 times, managed to come through all of the hurdles and win the race because he chose the right tyre at the right time and was not afraid to cost himself time in the pits to make sure he was on the right tyre for the conditions. If that plays a part today, if we see something similar, I assure you it will be maximum excitement. However, overcast skies at Monaco and circuit looking very shiny indeed, it's very unlikely that we're going to see such changeable conditions. Again, Monaco is down on the Mediterranean Sea. Very, very warm place. So if the clouds do clear up, if we do get some sunshine, it will dry very, very quickly. There's Rodriguez just getting it wrong through Massenet there, sticking it in the wall backwards, which is a little bit rare to see. And Fenno giving it another go up towards the line on those intermediate tyres. 1 minute 10.276. So we're really not far away for those intermediate tyres. Only 4/10 away. But that is your pole sitter, Carlos Fenno, with 1 minute 9.843. Don't forget that's almost 5 seconds faster than the current official lap record. So very well done to Carlos Fenno. And then we have Rodriguez behind by almost 8/10 on a 1 minute 10.627. Carlos in third with 1 minute 10.827. So 2/10 exactly between teammates there. Reinhardt then in fourth place with a 1 minute 11.163, with Asita right behind on a 1:11.545. Maretta then down into seventh, Mangel C12 in eighth, Adri 19 in ninth with a 1 minute 15.131, and then no time set by 10th place as my screen dies. So Josete HD will round out the top 10 there. And this is going to be an exciting race. Looking at the times, you can see that Carlos Fenno, only person in the 1 minute 9s. And then you've only got 2 drivers in the 1 minute 10s, 2 teammates. And then we have a number of drivers in the 1 minute 11s before it falls away to the 1:14s, 1:15s. So I will thank you all very much for joining us. We will shortly be taking a small break while the drivers cool down after such a difficult qualifying session. I imagine they are sweating buckets right now. As would I be. I would be sweating and dripping, needing towels of all sorts just to keep the car in a straight line, because that must have been a handful. So let us know how you're all doing on stream. We will hopefully be coming back to some adverts in a second. And then we will be going live with 39 laps around what is still a very wet Monaco circuit for round 5 of 22. We hope you're all enjoying the coverage. Again, thank you all for being with us. It is fantastic to be back after a good few months away. I have a new setup, so if the sound is a little bit echoey, this is probably why for now. Again, it's a work in progress while I get everything set up. But again, it's great to be back with Liga Virtual F1. And yeah, we just absolutely great to see you all on circuit again. So anyway, we are coming back to the stream for a little break. We will see you all in a few minutes for the start of the race. As we are now just waiting to see images of cars on the circuit. I do apologise for this technical issue, dear viewers. There we are. We have a few cars on the grid. I'm just wondering whether we're going to get a formation lap again before the start. However, there's a light on the gantry as cars disappear on and off the circuit. Again, they won't drive around to the starting line. It is a virtual championship, so they just plonk themselves and spawn onto the surface. Just like if you're playing a first-person shooter, every time you die you respawn. These guys spawn on the circuit, but they get one chance and one chance only to spawn on the circuit, and that is before the start of the race. They will then do a formation lap all the way around the circuit. That gives them a chance to feel out where the grip is, what the conditions are like, and if they're on the right tyre. You then have a choice of starting from the pit lane if you want to change tyres, for example. We didn't see anybody looking like that might be the case. However, we did see a few people on inters, so as they do come around, they might decide that is the case. It looks like most of the front runners are on the full extreme wets though. Again, the tyres, you've got your full extreme wets with the blue ring around the sidewall. Your intermediate wets have a green ring around the sidewall. And I believe the soft tyres had a red ring around the sidewall. Medium compound had a yellow ring, and hard compound had a white ring. Again, soft, medium, and hard compounds relate to the dry tyres, which we probably won't see here today, unless it does dramatically start to dry. But again, that's a case of if you are brave enough, if you have nothing to lose, and you want to try and make a few places, that is what you would do. So here we go, just watching Fenno coming around to the start line. Again, there's not a lot of drivers behind Fenno at the moment, so I'm wondering if someone's spun it around, but Fenno's going to be sat on that pole position for quite a while the engine temperatures rise and the tyres cool down. Of course, cooler than usual tyres is not such a bad thing with these full extreme wets. They do tend to overheat quite easily when the track starts to dry out. So sitting there for a bit longer is not so bad for the tyres, unless they get too cold, in which case it's impossible to get them back up to temperature in these conditions. However, the warm engine temperatures will do Fenno no favours, as we're just watching the back of the grid lining up a few people warming the tyres, which might suggest they've gone around a little too slowly. So as we see 3 lights on the gantry, 4 lights and 5, waiting for them to drop, and away we go. Green flag waving. Here we are down towards Sandivot for the first corner of 39 laps. Most of the grid getting through okay. Nobody in the wall at the moment, which is a miracle considering the carnage that usually occurs at turn 1 in the real races. Everybody making it through Sandivot fine. And now coming up towards Massenet. Again, no dramas at the moment, which is great news. Everybody wanting to keep it nice and steady. Get around this first lap and then start your charge. Again, looking like a bit of a spread down to the final runners at the back there. I did mention that there was a gap on lap times. So we're seeing 2 drivers side by side. Haas versus Red Bull into the tunnel. This is going to be a battle of who is bravest on the brakes, as we're seeing the Red Bull just maybe sensibly backing out of that and conceding the corner, thinking I'll get that back a little later, as now he has a chance into back as the Haas gets it very wrong through new chicane, but there's just not enough space to send it down the inside or the outside for the Red Bull driver, so he will concede the place. And we're watching the Aston Martin cars chasing Carlos Fenno. This is Rodriguez, I do believe, in second place right now, crossing the line. You will have an order list on your screens after the next sector time comes alive. And there we go. Rodriguez leads, Pablos leads, Reinhardt and Aceite. Jeff is all the way down in 17th place, so the third place championship standings driver is going to hurt after today, as we're just on board with the McLaren of Adri 19, watching out for that bump on the exit of Casino and going straight on into Mirabeau. Not what he wanted to do. He'll have to spin the car around very carefully if he can, not to damage it. He doesn't want damage for the next 37 laps, that is for sure. And unusually sticking the car in reverse and then all the way into the back of the wall at Mirabeau. Not an easy place to get the car going again. Very well done spinning it around and getting it going again, but that will be Adri 19 in last place for quite a while, until we see a bit of a fumble at the Grand Hotel hairpin. A couple of drivers sideways and in the wall there. So Jeff and Balint, of course, struggling with conditions as well. Daniel 1 on your screens right now in the wonderful Alpine livery, currently in 7th place. Aceite right ahead of him, as well as Moretti, which is the immediate car. So if these two start scrapping, this means Daniel 1 might get an easy couple of places. However, Daniel 1 might split up the cars, make it harder to chase, or they might stay alive and stern for a while. This is Monaco. It's difficult to overtake. Who knows what's going to happen? And Moretti now looking at the back of Aceite, just not finding a way to challenge the Haas livery car right now. And it's Grand Hotel hairpin taking a wide line around there. I wondered whether that might have been a mistake, might have been a barrier collision, but no, he's choosing the wide line. taking more grip around the outside where at least rubber has been laid down. And that, of course, does sometimes help to propel the car down towards the next corner. But Moretti going very deep on the brakes there, very unsettled over the curbs in the new chicane and just losing the back end slightly and costing himself a lot of time down towards the back. And then swimming pool. And then he's going to come down towards Raskas if he gets it right. Very, very difficult to get the car over the curbs. Swimming pool there. Weather speed in 9th place. He's looking at the back of Mangle C12, wanting to make up a position. Mangle C12 is going to make that very, very hard for Cabeza Speed. Right behind them two is Mazzetti HD. So this could end up being a three-way fight if these guys can get all sorted out. With Mangle C12 just doing everything he needs to at the moment to keep ahead of Cabeza Speed. And we're seeing now the fight for Moretti really heating up with Asiete. Moretti applying the pressure as much as he can. Danny01 just sat behind, watching these two drivers squabble, thinking about where he's going to make up any places, if there are any to be made. Yellow in Sector 2. I'm not sure who that is for, but we're in Sector 2 at the moment with a little bit of a squiggle there for Moretti on the exit of Portier. Down towards the new chicane. And again, the gap has opened up a little bit down towards the new chicane. Moretti will be wanting to be a lot closer to Asiete than he was last time around this section of the circuit. We're watching Pablos now, 3rd place, chasing his teammate liveried car. Rodriguez just ahead. Fenno has, however, disappeared into the distance. 5 seconds is the gap to the lead right now. So Pablos is definitely thinking more needs to be done and wants to get ahead of the other Aston Martin liveried car to chase down Fenno. And again, we've seen this a few times from Fenno, pulling out a very large gap early on in the race. But if you've followed any of the other work that I've done, these long races are very difficult to maintain high pace for, and it can all be lost in the last few laps of the race. So don't think for 1 second that Carlos Fennos is safe. He is definitely not. And Rodriguez and Pablos will be trying to prove that, and Pablos definitely saying that Rodriguez needs to get a move on. Needs to start closing up to Fenno right now. Again, the circuit looks a lot wetter than it did through the qualifying 3 session. So I don't think anybody's going to be moving on to the intermediate tyres just yet, as we're seeing a DNF from Balint, which means Balint is out of the race very early on. That is very unfortunate to see. MG 1998 is now 68 seconds behind the lead, which means he will be the first driver to be lapped, and that will be happening very soon. We're seeing Valdinger on Danny01. Danny01 has fallen through the field, so must have spun the car somewhere, and in 13th place now. Cabeza Speed and Mangle C12 still having a bit of a scrap, trying to decide who should be 7th and who should be 8th. Cabeza Speed not agreeing with the current order of things as Mangle C12 gets it wrong at Saint-Devote, giving the place graciously to Cabeza Speed and making it very, very difficult to continue. So he may struggle to keep that 8th place, as we're seeing Hazzetti HD and Adam Guy having a bit of a fight for 10th and 11th. Hazzetti HD snatching it away up through Beau Rivage and into Massenet, which was very, very professional looking from the experienced driver there in the Red Bull livery car. Again, Adam is a driver I've not seen before. We've seen Valdinger get it very wrong, giving that place back to Danny01, and Valdinger back into 13th place as he was before. But again, you're now starting to see how difficult it is to keep these cars in a straight line, as Rodriguez and Pablos still line astern, both teammate livery cars not having any of this let's take it easy business. Just like Fenno, they are trying to push on, as I believe Rodriguez just let Pablos go. That looked like Rodriguez pulled over to the outside of the corner at Beau Rivage and just let Pablos go. Obviously thinking it's better not to have too much pressure. It's better to let the pressuring driver go, make his own mistakes, and just race your own race. That's that could prove to be a very wise decision, or it could prove to hurt Rodriguez in the point standings. We just don't know. Again, they could be helping each other out as we're watching Jeff and Waldinger, and we're seeing a pit stop there. One of the Red Bull cars, who is that? I believe we're on board with Hazetti HD. Has Hazetti HD just put inters on? Hazetti HD has just put intermediate tyres on a track that looks too wet for extreme wets. Is this going to be a game changer for Hazetti HD? 75 seconds back off the lead. What is this going to do to the race? If Hazetti HD keeps this in a straight line and manages to start lapping at about lead pace or faster, you could see a lot more pit stops. And again, it's Monaco, so a pit stop costs you a lot of time here. Hazetti HD could have just put himself back in the points. As we're watching a car ahead of him, that may have been Adri 19. Again, you did see a couple of yellows flash up on your screen, as we're seeing yellows in Sector 3 again. That will be a feature as people spin the cars on the circuit. Again, 1,000 horsepower, 600 kilogram cars. These are not easy machines to control. Just keeping them pointed in a straight line is more difficult than it sounds. And when you're going to navigate tight corners with no runoff, very, very strong barriers on the exit corners. These are not Tech Pro barriers. These will demolish the cars if you hit them hard enough. As we're watching Jeff defending at the moment, well, that looks like Fenno right behind because... Oh wait, no, that's a Haas car. I do apologise. That red halo putting me off, of course. And of course, F is just looking at the back of Waldinger, who's currently in 12th place because of that pit stop from Hazetti HD. And Jeff now thinking, can I take 12th place off Waldinger and try and take some points to not hurt the championship? Rodriguez has made the pit stop, made the change to inters. Again, this is two drivers now, and that's put Rodriguez down in 7th place. Just showing you how much time you lose changing tyres. Mangle C12 in the pits. What's he going to put on? Inters as well. So it looks like a lot of the drivers now opting for intermediate tyres. Have they seen the lap times of Hazetti HD? However, Hazetti HD has lost time to Fenno. He's 82 seconds behind now, so it might not be time just yet for intermediate tyres. And yet we've seen a number of drivers move on to them as we're watching Moretti looking at the back of one of the Haas cars. Again, that might be a lap driver indeed. So Moretti hoping for that driver to move out of the way and let him through at the earliest opportunity, while still trying to keep it in a straight line, still trying to keep it out of the walls and out of the back of the car ahead. Not going into the pits for inters for Moretti, going for another lap. We have another yellow in Sector 2. Asite moves up into 2nd place, Moretti into 3rd, as we're seeing more drivers in the pits. Again, Pablo and Rodriguez were drivers in 2nd and 3rd, but Pablos is now down in 4th, Rodriguez down in 6th. So Pablos definitely gaining at that round of pit stops. Reinhardt didn't as we see Moretti going very sideways around Casino. That is not what he wanted indeed. Again, he's losing time to the Haas car ahead, maybe giving himself space, thinking it's better not to danger ourselves. Reinhardt has fallen down for a couple of places there, behind Rodriguez and clears the speed, so Reinhardt may be on the wrong tyre, maybe struggling with grip. I was watching Waldinger. Again, I did mention earlier that Raskas is a very tricky corner, the source of major drama in many of the races that have happened here. And Waldinger almost causing another driver ahead of the Red Bull car there. That might be Moretti behind. Or it could be Hazetti HD. That both Red Bull cars, both of them behind Haas cars right now. So yes, I believe that's Waldinger and Hazetti HD. Hazetti HD on the inters, don't forget. Waldinger still on the full wets. Hazetti HD fancying his chances down the inside. Oh dear, Waldinger's in the wall at Mirabeau, lost his front wing, so that's going to be a long stop now for Waldinger to get that front wing back on. Again, we have to feel it in the pits, but MG 1998, if he's close enough, he might bring himself back into the reach of Valdinger, because that will be a long shot. Was it Valdinger that lost his front wing? I'm seeing a front wing on Valdinger. I definitely saw a front wing lost. Pablos is there in... So that might have been debris from another driver. I'm just hearing in my ear that that was debris that was already there. Valdinger just happened to collect it. So, out of the pits then, we have a Williams on Inters. We have a McLaren on Inters. Everybody now deciding that it's time for the intermediate tyres. Pablos leaving the pits. I didn't see what tyres he's on. I believe it's going to be Inters. As we're seeing a massive impact at Beau Rivage there. Jeff coming through. We have a... Oh, dear me. A very sideways Alpine car there. But Jeff in 8th place now. Sorry, that was a Williams car, not an Alpine. I do apologise. Again, it's difficult when there's so many blue cars on track. You may remember the days of having multiple red cars on circuits and various famous commentators getting them mixed up from time to time. Again, it's no different for me. I'm more of an amateur though, so it's more likely to happen for me. Mangal C12 now on the intermediate tyres, looking at the back of an Alfa Romeo, which is on full extreme wet tyres. Mangal C12 definitely having an advantage, so definitely Inter's the way forward as we're seeing two car. Oh my word! Pablos has just been wiped out on the exit of New Chicane there. That's a DNF. A DNF for Pablos and a DNF for Danny 01 as well. Was that Danny 01 on the New Chicane as well? What's happened to Danny 01? So Danny 01's had his own incident and Pablos has been wiped out on the exit of Danny 01 as well. So I'm just hearing in my ear, Danny 01 has had technical issues and is out of this race. Pablos has been wiped out while trying to overtake another driver on the exit of New Chicane as Moretti spins it around at New Chicane. So Pablos is out of this race and will not improve on his 8th place championship standings despite chasing for a podium position. That has promoted Asita into 2nd place right now. Rodriguez is in 3rd. Asita yet to stop, however. Fenno has stopped. Rodriguez has stopped. Cabeza Speed in 4th has not stopped, but Moretti in 5th has stopped. Rossetti HD up into 11th place now. He has stopped. One of the first to stop for intermediate tyres, and definitely making improvements on those who have not stopped for the intermediate tyre yet. As we're now looking at Rossetti HD, looking at the back of a McLaren, I believe that is Adri 19, who has not stopped. So he's still on the full wet extreme tyre with the blue ring around the sidewall there, as you can see as the cars come very slowly around Raskas there. ZHD is all over the back of that McLaren now, so we'll be hoping for an overtake at the earliest opportunity. However, he does not want the same thing to happen to him as what has happened to Pablos. Pablos must be fuming with what has just happened to him there, but did very, very well not to sit on the track and recover to the pits at the earliest opportunity to save anybody else from having just as much heartbreak. As we're watching Rossetti HD around the outside of Casino there, that's a very brave place to put the car, because you have that bump to deal with on the run down to Mirabel, but gets the job done, proving that yes, everybody, it's time for Inters. However, there is a very dry line forming now as we're seeing two cars struggling around Casino, and that's wiped out Rodriguez. That's wiped out Rodriguez. The same thing happened to Rodriguez as what has happened to the teammate livered car. Wiped out by a Haas car. I'm not sure who that was. There is a very good chance that that might have been Valdinger. However, Rodriguez is still trying to continue. No real ring on that car. Definitely suspension damage of some sort, trying to recover to the pits. It was Asita. Asita, the 2nd place driver, has just removed the 3rd place threat. That is going to be drama after this race when the stewards are investigating. Rodriguez trying to make the move on the driver, still on the extreme wet tyres. Rodriguez, who was on the intermediate tyres, had the outside but just got slammed into the wall. As we're now seeing a very definite dry line forming. Drivers who are on intermediate tyres are definitely lapping at a much faster rate than everybody on Extreme Wets. And those who are on Extreme Wets will be wanting to come into the pit soon for another tyres, but they may be trying to hold out for a dry tyre. I did mention that it was going to be unlikely that we see those. However, as this dry line develops, I'm thinking it may be more and more likely. These cars now trying to stay on the track. As we're seeing another car spin, that was an Alpine as Moretti goes very carefully through Sandivort there. Very lucky not to get wiped out, but an Alpine did just slam into the barriers after getting caught out on the brakes and unfortunately not making it into Sandivort in a straight line. I'm just wondering who that might have been. Adam Guy now in 8th place. Looking at the back of Jeff there. We're seeing Rodriguez is in the pits. He's made it around, but he's losing places rapidly. Adam Guy now looking at the back. I believe that's Jeff ahead of him. All sorts of changes up and down the field as we're seeing the debris on the track there as Feno comes through. Both drivers sensibly allowing him to make his way through without any damage to Feno. Feno now 24 seconds over Assuita, who's still on the full wets. Moretti then down in 3rd place, closing the gap to Assuita. There's a speed in 4th at the moment, but the real story is Pablos, Daniel 1 and Rodriguez, all victims of this race. Daniel 1, of course, technical issue, but Pablos and Rodriguez, the two Aston Martin liveried cars, both of them impacted by drivers on full wets. I'm not sure whether blame does lie with the drivers that were on full wets or whether it was too much of a brave move, or whether both drivers having impacts, collecting the barriers and seeing their race and podium hopes fall away. As we're just seeing Adam getting very close to the barriers, may have tapped them a couple of times, and he's now struggling to keep the car in a straight line on those inters. Does Adam have damage? We're seeing Hazzetti HD right behind. Again, the first driver to go onto the inters. Definitely looking for a way through here as that debris gets kicked up once again. Hazzetti choosing not to go for the overtaking to Maribor there. Down into Grand Hotel Hairpin, as you're seeing that inside wheel lifting up. It is such a steep hill down through there into Portier. That car of Adams, the McLaren liveried Formula 1 car, very much twitching left and right. This might be putting Hazzetti off. However, Jeff is right ahead and struggling for grip, it looks like, as both drivers are wanting to try and make their way through. As around Adam goes, I'm not sure whether that's race over, but there was definitely contact with Hazzetti, but Hazzetti not impeded too much. Oh my word, that was a terrible rejoin from Adam there, collecting another driver and being very lucky not to end their race right there. Those two drivers collect on the exit of New Chicane. That was very dangerous, but all drivers lucky to be able to continue. And we're now looking at Mangle C12. Mangle C12 is a little further up. However, look at MG 1998. He was all the way down the back of the field just a few laps ago, but he's now in 12th place. As I mentioned earlier, there may have been a chance for him to get a little bit closer to the drivers in front, and just by keeping it clean and tidy, maybe not on the fastest pace, keeping it out of the wall, keeping your head down, keeping it straight, he's made up a few positions right now, and we'll be hoping for a few more. However, Mangle C12 has other ideas. Mangle C12 on the intermediate tyres, he wants 12th place. And MG 1998, if he's doing all he can not to give it to him, very wide on the exit of Portier there. That has given an opportunity to Mangle C12, who will be on the outside through the braking point into New Chicane. Definitely has that job done before the corner. And again, MG 1998 just losing a place there, but again, keeping it really tidy, sticking to his own race, not trying to get caught in incidents. And if the attrition continues, that could even result in points a little later on down the line. As to Raskas we go. We've not seen anybody on dry tyres yet. Again, the circuit's still looking a little bit too wet for that. There is a dry line around, but we don't know whether more rain is coming. Again, rain was forecast for this race. We had very wet qualifying session, and we're seeing Nico Maimo still on full extreme wets, and you can see how much of a dry line there is now. Again, darker areas of the racing surface, lighter areas denoting that dry line, and the shiny areas denoting where the standing water is. A lot of spray being kicked up as the drivers just move to the edge of the dry line to try and cool down those extreme wet tyres. I did mention earlier that those tyres are very prone to overheating if you run them on a dry surface or on a track that isn't wet enough. So those on the extreme wets will be suffering because of that, as I believe that's Fenno going through once again. Was it Fenno? Maimo's in third, so if that was Fenno, then that is a long way ahead for the first place driver. And again, yeah, 81 seconds is the interval between Fenno and Reinhardt, who is now in second place, with Maimo in third. So Fenno is a long way ahead of everybody else. But as I said, with 19 laps still to go, do not be fooled into believing that that is race over. Anything can happen. As you've seen with Rodriguez being in 14th place at the moment, we have a DNF from Moretti now. As we saw earlier, there was contact with another driver, so I'm wondering whether that has contributed to the end of Moretti's race. This attrition is set to continue for a little longer, unfortunately, as other drivers are still struggling with the conditions. We're hoping that nobody else loses their fight in this race. However, it is heartbreaking in these conditions when you've focused for so long and it all goes wrong. But it's likely to happen when conditions are this difficult. It's no fault of the drivers. These are all very good drivers. But again, you're racing with 1,000 brake horsepower, 600 kilogram cars on a circuit which is not fast enough to utilise all of the downforce these cars generate. You're going to lose traction. It's going to happen. And it's not going to be pleasant when it does, as you've seen a number of times now, as we're just watching the battle with Mangal C12 right now, as these drivers come around the pitch straight down to Saint Devote once again, just keeping it neat and tidy, and up through Beaurivage into Massenet, and then you're followed by Casino again with that horrible bump after the exit on the run down into Mirabeau, and then Mirabeau is followed by everybody's least liked corner if you've ever played a Formula 1 game, Grand Hotel Hairpin. And then you come down the hill and then around a right, and then it's Portier before the tunnel, and you step down into Nouveau Chicane, as it's called in French, which does mean new chicane. We just call it new chicane. It's so much easier on the tongue. And then that is followed by my favourite section of this circuit you have to back, which is almost flat in these cars, almost in dry conditions, and that's followed by Chiron, which is a kink, which leads into the swimming pool chicane, followed by the only corner that has the most drama in Formula 1 history, Raskas, and that is into Anthony Knows, which is the statue on the inside of the corner, actually. Very early Grand Prix driver before the days of Formula 1, has stood there since the Grand Prix of Monaco were originally raced. And Mangal C12 still not getting ahead of this driver. My stream is dipping in quality. We're watching on board with Adri 19 at the minute. And the field is not being shaken up too much at the minute as the drivers, I believe, they're settling down a little bit. Those who have stopped, comfortable on their tyre choice at the moment. And those who went on to Inters earlier may be thinking about another stop right now, but I'm just wondering if we're ever going to see these dry tyres. Watching Maimo in 5th place at the moment. You did see earlier Maimo was in 3rd place. And of course, pit stops do change things. Reinhardt stopping We're looking at drivers coming out of the pits now and just trying to see what tyres these drivers are on. What tyres is the Williams of Reinhardt going to be? It is Inters again for the third place driver. The Beza Speed now up into second place. A driver just ahead with no front wing, it looks like. And that's an Aston Martin, so that might be Rodriguez right at the back of the field. The only Aston Martin livery car still going. Just doing very, very well to keep that car on the track after what happened to him. As we're seeing the cars circulating, that dry line still developing. No spray behind the drivers when they're at high speed on that dry line as Reinhardt slams it into the wall. Just on the exit of that corner. And we're just watching because all of the things that the car does, the attitude, the way that it turns into the corner, the what it does on the exit, and you see that the cars just aren't pointing into the corners on these brand new intermediate tyres. So I don't know whether Reinhardt has damage or whether those intermediates are already overheated. Again, the drier the surface is, the hotter these tyres will get, and the wets and the inters do not like to be as hot as the slick tyres. So it may be time to start thinking about that, but Jeff is still on the extreme wets. In 6th place now after being all the way down at the back of the field earlier on in the race. We're on lap 24 out of 39. And we're just wondering if we're ever going to see... Ooh, we saw a Haas car on the exit of New Chicane there, just stopped in place. Again, those drivers who have not finished the race, you have Balint, you have Tafili, who is still in the pits, but I'm guessing he's not continuing. Oh, Reinhardt. Reinhardt has just hit the wall at Mirabeau, collected by a Haas car. I'm not sure which Haas car that was. However, that may be damage for one driver or the other. There's no front wing on that Haas car behind, so Reinhardt may have cost someone their front wing there. As I'm just watching with you on the stream, my quality on the primary source has dipped below what I'm used to, so I do apologise if I'm a little bit behind. I'm doing all I can to recover the quality there, and watching on screen as action unfolds. Reinhardt is beginning to look like he has more control over that car now. However, it still does not seem like the track conditions are suiting either tyre right now. As the car just so late turning in as he bounces off the wall once more right there. And sideways almost on the exit of Casino over that bump into Mirabeau. And it is looking like the tyres are just not biting into the surface. Breaking traction on the exit there. As we have resumed stream quality, so we're all good. We're watching things in real time again. As we've seen Reinhardt come through the tunnel. And again, on the braking zone, down into New Chicane. Not squirrely on the brakes, so it seems to be just when the car's under hard load around the corners or on the power when the car does seem to be breaking traction. Everybody down from second is now a lap behind Fenno, so Fenno might have this sewn up. We haven't seen much of the Ferrari livery driver. However, he is still going ahead, lapping faster than everybody else, but will, of course, be having a sigh of release that he doesn't have too much to worry about now. Doesn't have to risk anything. However, that is not the same for all of the drivers behind. We've got another DNF from Mangel C12 now. Again, we're seeing drivers just either losing focus or fatiguing this late in the race, or the tyres just doing not what they're expected to do, and it all coming in stuck for Mangel C12 there. So Valdinger, Asite and Rodriguez will have a chance to move up the order, but they have to be on the same lap as Mangel C12 and get ahead of where he was. Valdinger, of course, a lap behind MG 1998, who I did say earlier was doing a great job despite not being on the pace of everybody else. He's just keeping it clean, keeping his head down, doing his own thing, and is reaping the rewards as he's now in the points. You have Jeff, who again was down the field earlier on, up in 6th place. Last time I saw Jeff, he was still on the extreme wets. You have Maimo, Adamgaz, and Reinhardt. All of those were a lot further down the field earlier on. But of course, your front runners, Rodriguez, Pablos, Moretti, all of those having difficulties. Aceite's down in 11th place now. Not sure what's happened to Aceite. He was a lot further up earlier on, but you have seen drama all the way through this race. It has been a spectacle so far, but we're watching Reinhardt just catching up on another driver now. Is this Cabeza speed ahead? As we're just coming around. Oh, there's an accident there. Rodriguez has to put it round. Collected Reinhardt and one other driver. I'm hoping there is no damage on the cars ahead. Of course, there will have been yellows waved there. The drivers will have been aware that there may have been a driver, and Rodriguez has pulled to the outside of the unnamed corner, outside of Grand Hotel Hairpin. He is backwards, waiting for an opportunity to get the car going. It's commendable to keep the car going as long as possible. However, you have to ask whether it's still safe to continue if the car cannot be repaired. As Rodriguez is struggling to get around Portier, crabbing all the way through the tunnel. Unfortunately, Rodriguez, as mentioned earlier, he was hunting down a podium position. He was going very, very quickly indeed. However, unfortunately, he was collected while trying to go around the outside of another driver. Sent into the wall at Casino, which took away his rear wing, his front wing, neither of which were replaced at the pit stops. But Rodriguez is still going around on the intermediate tyres, still trying to go as fast as possible, and has not ended the race. He is in 12th place, so if another two drivers do come into the wall and choose not to finish their race, then he could score points. There are 11 laps remaining from Fenno's position. When Fenno crosses the line in 11 more laps, that will be the end of the race. And if two more drivers do go out, then Fenno has a chance to give some points to Rodriguez. However, Rodriguez still has to be going around the circuit and another two drivers need to drop out. So that is unlikely. But the circuit is difficult. It is still drying out. Look at the dry line evolving. You see a Haas car coming up to the back of Rodriguez now. Just going around the inside at the Grand Hotel Hairpin. Rodriguez giving as much space as possible, trying to keep the car straight. It is commendable and it is difficult to do, especially when you have such a damaged car. Back on board with Reinhardt. I believe that is Cabeza speed ahead. The gap is under a second. You can see how dry the line is there, how little spray is being kicked up by Cabeza speed ahead. As they go around Mirabeau, down into Grand Hotel Hairpin. Again, you saw that Rodriguez lapping very, very slowly. He isn't so far down the circuit from when these drivers are. Cabeza speed struggling under power. This is going to give a chance to Reinhardt, who gets too early on the power. Puts it in the wall on the inside of the exit of Portier. And that shows you just how difficult it is. And Reinhardt will have to find another place to pressure Cabeza speed. And Cabeza speed doing so well to be up in the podium position. Was down towards the bottom end of the top 10 a little earlier. Reinhardt taking a lot of curb through swimming pool there. Down towards Raskas now before they come up towards Anthony Nose and along the pitch straight down towards Sandevot. Again, that gap has opened up a little bit. He's now over a second. But will Reinhardt find the pace he found earlier to close up on Cabeza speed, taking so much speed through Sandevot now? I'm wondering if we're going to see dry tyres soon. I wonder what tyres Fenno is on, whether anybody is going to think about whether or not it is worth risking dry tyres, because there is no spray being kicked up by these intermediate tyres now, and they must be getting toasty. They must be getting very, very warm. As we're seeing Reinhardt coming through into Portier. Definitely not getting any more grip out of the front end than Cabeza speed, but able to get on the power that much earlier that he is getting closer and closer to Cabeza speed all of the time. There is another car to contend with ahead. Again, a back marker. It may be Rodriguez. I did say earlier, Rodriguez wasn't that far ahead on the circuit. If it is, he's going at some pace at the minute, because very difficult to keep a Strickland car in a straight line. As we see Rodriguez there, once again in the way. Reinhardt held up and damaged by Rodriguez while trying to chase Cabez's speed. There may have been an opportunity to overtake for second place, if not for Rodriguez being pointed the wrong way on the circuit at the very wrong time. Reinhardt brings it into the pits, hopefully to repair the damage, put a new front wing on. Maybe we might even see dry tyres. I'm wondering what it's going to be. We're in the pits. It's going to be a long stop, is this. Fenno is on dry tyres. Fenno is on soft, red walled tyres. Fenno being the first, it looks like, to go onto the soft tyres after so many laps of running around on the inters. That dry line has evolved. Fenno just struggling a little bit of a hairpin. That is to be expected as you come down the hill. All the water will roll further down the hill. The skies are looking brighter. The track is getting drier. There's only 8 laps to go, so if you can hold on to the car, it might be the right call. Definitely from Fenno, because he's got a lot of time to play with. If he does start to lose time, he can go back into the pits and put another set of inters on, but I definitely think that is the right call to move on to the dry tyres. So Fenno running around on slicks, kicking up a little bit of spray there. Probably not ideal. But yeah, look at how much speed he's got around on these soft tyres. He comes back into the pits. Has he decided that it's too risky? Is Fenno coming back in for the intermediate tyres? Reinhardt still in third place, so well, he has managed to get back out again, but he's a long way behind Cabez's speed now. So Fenno goes back onto the intermediate wall tyre, obviously thinking it's too risky for soft. Well, that shows you just how much time he had over everybody else, able to come and play with tyres. I'm just thinking that, you know what, I don't want to give my one away. I'm going to stick with the meters for now. So, second place, Cabez's speed. Third place right now still is Reinhardt, 12 seconds behind. You have Maimo followed by ZHD and Hef in 6th place, so making up a lot of places over the course of this race. Adam Guz is in 7th place with Adri19 making up a lot of places also in 8th, and MG1998 again in the points, keeping his head down, not lapping particularly quickly compared to Fenno, but he's in the points. No accidents, just keeping his head clean, continuing on doing a very good job. And then you have Asite in 10th place. Again, we have seen dramas for Asite. He's making his way back up the field as fast as he can. Valdinger is in 11th place and making up the last of the runners is Rodriguez in 12th. I did pause for last of the runners because Tafila is still showing as running, but has been in the pits for a very long time now. 29 minutes 57, so that will be 30 minutes shortly so since the start of the race almost. Nico Maimo in 3rd place on your screens right now in the Alpha Tauri. Again, we haven't seen too much of all of the cars. This has been a race of drama. We've been trying to stick with the action as much as possible, as we're seeing Reinhardt drop down into 5th place there. He has been in the pits, so has Reinhardt opted to risk it to go on to soft tyres? Or was it another damaged car that brought Reinhardt in to try and fix the problem? It has promoted Maimo into 3rd place, however. 46 seconds behind Cabez's speed, so in 6 laps, that is an unlikely gap to close. As you've seen, Rodriguez. I almost mixed myself up there. So Rodriguez very sideways. Oh dear. Very sideways on the entry to a new chicane there, and then smashing the wall on the exit and coming across another driver. I'm hoping there wasn't contact. However, that is always a risk with a stricken car. You have Maimo coming around the circuit. This Haas car behind Maimo is closing incredibly quickly. I'm wondering which car it is. I don't know whether it's Valdinger or another car. However, the closing speed is quick. It's not Hossetti HD. Hossetti HD is in the Williams. However, Maimo is either losing pace or somebody else is on a much faster tyre right now. As we're seeing the Haas car look at the inside here. Maimo on the intermediate tyre. which might be at his end of his life. Don't forget, Maimo was a lot further down earlier on. The Haas car is also on the intermediate tyre, so Maimo might just be struggling with tyres that are old and worn out, whereas the Haas car behind might be on lovely fresh tyres. So looking at the gaps, I'm wondering if that could be Jeff trying to unlap himself, which he is allowed to do. If you are faster than the driver you are following, you can unlap yourself. However, if the faster driver is approaching you and lapping faster than you, you must give way to them. Reinhardt down in 5th place. Let's have a look at what tyre he's on. It is the intermediate tyre, so I'm wondering whether he's been in the pits for a 3rd time due to damage. We did see him come into the pits once already after making contact with Rodriguez's car, which was turned the wrong way at Rascasse. The corner of drama. I did tell you that that was the corner that was going to cause it, and it did once more. However, we've seen so many other dramas at so many other points of the circuit. This has been a race that a lot of drivers are going to want to try and forget in a hurry, and other drivers will be over the moon with what has formed. So your DNFs so far. Balint, I did not see the end of that race. That was very early on. Tafili has been in the pits since that point. Danny 01 lost the screen, so had to end their race, unfortunately. Pablos was taken out by another driver while trying to make an overtaking maneuver, was collected and put into the wall. That ended Pablos' chance at a podium. Morete was another driver that DNF'd shortly afterwards. I'm not entirely sure whether that was the collision with Pablos or whether that was another driver. And then you had Mangel C12, who did not finish the race shortly afterwards. And Rodriguez, again, still continuing, despite the fact the car should probably be retired. Again, you have to commend the driver for wanting to continue, wanting to bring the car home, regardless of the condition. However, with just a few laps to go, it is unlikely that another 2 drivers are going to fall foul and that Rodriguez is going to score points. As Rodriguez, there you go, crabbing up through Beau Rivage towards Massenet. Reinhardt is coming through now. And again, Reinhardt very sideways through Massenet there. So I'm just wondering whether the tyres are getting a bit warm, whether the drivers are starting to struggle a lot with temperatures and grip. You did see Fenno chance the soft tyres a little earlier on. Nobody else has given that a go yet, but the track does look to be a little drier than it was when Fenno chanced that. With 2 laps to go, it's probably not ideal to give it a go. However, if you are struggling with the intermediate tyre, then it is not the worst idea in the world, just to make sure you bring the car home safely. But with the gaps as they are... Oh! Reinhardt spun it at swimming pool. He's taken off the front wing of the car. He's still moving as another driver comes and collects him. Rossetti HD has got ahead of Reinhardt earlier, so that was not Rossetti HD of the Red Bull Racing car. That was a Williams. I'm not sure which Williams it was. Reinhardt getting into the wall at Rascasse, choosing to continue on rather than going into the pits to put a new front wing on, so I'm guessing the damage isn't that bad. Again, it's a circuit which doesn't utilise all of the downforce, so he might not see it as such a problem until he comes into the Santa Fort and wipes out the wall like we've seen so many times in history, with a few rather nasty accidents there in the past. Hopefully Reinhardt does not suffer the same fate, does not damage the car further around all of these walls as he's going around, as we did on Gran Turismo 1 for the PlayStation 1, using the walls to get around these corners. Again, not ideal. You're going to damage the car that way, so he might be thinking that he should have gone into the pits, and he may come into the pits this time around for a front wing, but that is disappointing for Reinhardt. Again, he was up in 3rd place, challenging for 2nd with Cabeza speed before Rodriguez was found pointing the wrong way at Rascasse, pushing Reinhardt into the front of him, causing damage and sending him into the pits, which dropped him down into 5th. Reinhardt then stopped again for another reason. We don't know whether it was tyres, we don't know whether it was damage, and it looks like he's going to have to stop again. So Rossetti HD making his way up the Beau Rivage into Massenet, passing the very damaged car of Rodriguez, and that was very squiggly. Very much a squeaky bum moment for ZTHD coming through Casino there. Maybe the tyres are struggling. Maybe everyone is finding it difficult on these old intermediate tyres. Fenno has just begun lap 39. ZTHD will be glad when this race is over. Again, having a lot of dramas early on as we're seeing very bright skies now. This track is starting to dry out a bit as ZTHD is trying to find some water to cool down these tyres. So it may be temperature. We're seeing a lot more spray there than earlier. Has the rain started again? Despite the sunshine, it looks like there is more rain. And down it pours. So yeah, I would be right. The track is once again getting wet. That dry line has disappeared. It is darker up along the pitch straight now, down towards Sandivort. So despite the sunshine at Portier, the rain has come down again. However, with us being right at the end of the race, I don't see anybody coming in for the full extreme wets. We have yellow flags popping up in Sector 2. We have an AlphaTauri ahead of ZTHD now. That is Maimo. Maimo sat in third place right now. Nico Maimo hoping to hold on to the podium position. And ZTHD saying, no, I have a chance, I'm coming for it. Fenno has crossed the line. The race is over for Carlos Fenno, who is your winner of round 5 of 22, Monaco Grand Prix with the Liga Virtual F1. Cabeza Speed is a lap down, but will come across the line in second place if he doesn't put it in a wall. However, Maimo and ZTHD might not have the chance as the gap is over a second. But they're on your screens. Carlos Fenno, very well done, still on the intermediate tyres. Thankfully, he didn't stick with the soft tyres. That could have been an interesting final lap. But well done to the driver who got away at the start, did not look back, and quickly put a lap over everybody else before settling down to enjoy the race. And hopefully we'll hear from him in just a few moments to catch his thoughts. As Carlos Fenno, after finishing first at Bahrain and 2 other circuits before a second place in Spain, now adding to his victories at Monaco. So well done to Carlos Fenno. We will get the full results on your screen as soon as all of the drivers have crossed the finish line. But what an exciting race that has been to come through 39 laps of Monaco. Despite having damage, despite the stricken cars, there was a car there with no front wing, a Red Bull parked up in the pit lane. And then there we are with your results. Carlos Fenno in first place. Second place is Cabeza Speed has ZTHD in third, rounding out the podium. Nico Maimo in fourth place, losing out to ZTHD in the end. Reinhardt in fifth, unfortunately. Jeff in sixth, making up a lot of places, as has Adam Guznici. Adri 19 in eighth, and MG 1998 in ninth. And Asite in 10th place. A very difficult race there for a lot of the drivers in the top 10. It has been up and down continuously for all of the drivers, as I'm sure you've enjoyed over the course of this race. And I'm wondering whether we'll get a chance for classification on the rest of the field. However, my screen has just gone blank, so I'm guessing not. Well, there you go. That was 39 laps around Monaco in very tricky conditions you saw at the start. Definitely full extreme wets was the right tyre. As we're moving to a be right back screen, so we will just take a small break before coming back to you with some post-race analysis. Welcome to the stream, Jeff. I'm guessing you're very, very tired, so we'll try not to keep you too long. But again, we all know Monaco is a race of attrition when it's dry. In the wet, it's a different story. What was it actually like out there?
It wasn't too tricky as far as the conditions. The main thing was just trying to stay consistent. As the tires go off, it gets harder to break into the corners and get on throttle. And you just have to do your best to try and stay consistent. But if you don't, you go too deep into a corner, you get a bunch of wheels spin, and you end up making a big mistake that can cost you.
Well, we did see that quite a lot throughout the race. Actually, it was quite a theme because we know that wet conditions is survival rather than nutrition. So, in terms of where you qualified, I mean, I'm guessing that you went into the race with a bit less hope than you've had in the other races so far. I mean, what was your state of mind like going into the race?
Well, in this league, it's been a lot of the races have been races of attrition because there's a lot of people in the upper midfield that can end up making mistakes and putting themselves further back in the field than they should be. So it's just a matter of not screwing up and then hoping everybody else does.
So, obviously, the attrition started. Survival problems, as you mentioned earlier, the people did struggle with aging tires, and then you start to make up positions. At that point, I mean, what were you thinking? Were you thinking that you could get a really good points haul? Were you just trying not to keep it in the wall? I mean, where were you at mentally?
I was just trying to keep the car on track and get into the points. The thing about how you how would I put this? How you perceive a race like Monaco mentally is that you're not going to really be able to overtake very well, and there's not really a whole lot that you can do strategy wise if you're further back in the field. If you try and be smart and take tires off sequence, it just puts you into traffic that you can't overtake. So it's really just keep the car on track, just do what you can.
And of course, it paid off because you definitely got into the points. You definitely got a good result. But in terms of the championship, is it too early to talk about that yet?
No,
So here we are. You come into Monaco in third place. Obviously, Carlos Feno doing what he knows how to do, putting the pain on everybody else today, as he has in three of the other races and a second at Spain. You came in third place. Danny 01 did not finish the race. You've scored more than him. Has ETHD scored some good points, as did Cabeza Speed. We know that Moretti's got pace as well. I mean, what are your thoughts on this championship right now? Are you hoping you can challenge for second, or are you hoping to maybe capitalize when Feno makes mistakes? I mean, what are you hoping for from the next few rounds?
realistically, the best I can hope for is second. I know Carlos, whenever he has a car that he is good at driving, he can just walk away from the field, and that's what we have here. As far as what do I see myself doing in the championship? It's kind of hard to tell right now because the thing is that as far as this race with the results as they are now, Danny he DNF'd, lost a lot of points. Josete had a and Cabeza Speed had good points hauls today. So it's really hard to treat this as a trend that's going to go forward since Monaco is kind of a one-off type of track because other tracks it's going to be easier to overtake and the order should be a bit more normal going out next time.
Exactly. And speaking of next time, I believe we're at Azerbaijan next. Is it a track you're familiar with?
No, I've never seen it. I stopped watching F1 before they brought it on.
Well, as someone who has seen it, it's a very tricky street circuit. Um, so I'm guessing that you've not had much time to think about it. But I will say that if it continues like it has, the results could look good for you. So thank you very much for joining, Jeff, and good luck for the future races. Um, and is there anything you want to give a shout out to or anything like that before you go?
Not really. Thanks for having me.
Brilliant stuff. No, you're welcome, Jeff. And thank you to everybody else for being involved with the stream. Once again, your race broadcaster has been Charles. We've been joined by Jeff, who had the amazing points haul from a very, very difficult race that you've just seen there. So for round 5 of 22, it has been, I'm sure you'll agree, a very exciting race for the Liga Virtual F1 2021 Cars Championship. And we look forward to Azerbaijan for your next race and installment, which will be on stream with commentary again. I have been your host, Alexander Rhodes, and I look forward to seeing and speaking with you all at the next one.